Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of the Road to Dublin Marathon. This is maybe my third or fourth attempt at uploading a video, so hopefully this one works better. Previous attempts I've tried to sort of edit different elements of runs throughout the week into it. Turned out I was missing audio, missing runs, missing videos, so I've reverted back to just keeping this one quite simple. It'll just be one straight video through, and there'll maybe be a wee bonus video just with regards to the Lurig run, which I'll come to later on. So how did this week go? Ups and downs, literally and figuratively, with regards to how this week has went. So Monday morning I woke up sore. I had been doing a course the day before, which I mentioned on last week's video, coaching assisting course down at Mary Peters Track, and there was a lot of throwing, jumping, sprinting and games and things were being played, which meant that I had been using muscles that as a runner I just wasn't used to using. So I was just sore. Should I have went out for a small run? Yes. Did I? No. So I missed Monday, which meant that Tuesday I was even more sore. The DOMs had kicked in properly. The weather was quite warm as well. But Monday, Tuesday missed, which meant I had 5 days to cover 5 sessions. And Wednesday I went out for the first session. The plan had hills on it. It was really warm, couldn't sort of think of a shaded hill anywhere to do it, so I decided just to do my easy run, which was mistake number 1 of the week, where I didn't look too far ahead into my plan, and I probably should have done this a lot better. But it was an easy run. It was 9 miles, easy paced, lovely weather, roasting hot, 24, 25, maybe 26 degrees here in Northern Ireland. The route was quite hilly as well, but effort over ego. Kept the heart rate under control, kept the pace, which meant the pace was under control as well. And no issues at all. Lovely and warm, got a bit of a tan as well. So then the next day was Thursday, and woke up early to do the run, thinking that I might beat the heat. And I looked outside, it was still 20 degrees, and I just, it was a long endurance hill session that I had planned, 9 by 2 minutes. And I'm thinking, right, well, the hill that I would need to do this on is a mountain 3 miles away. I just didn't feel like driving to it or running to it. So I decided to do it in the treadmill. Number 1, it was a nice controlled session. I was in control of it, the pace was the same. So for me on a hill session on the treadmill, I think it was about a 5-minute warm up, and then it was just ramp the elevation up to 12, which should be 12 degrees. Whether it is or not, we don't know, but it felt quite difficult. Let the pace, sort of the first one I did at a fairly easy pace, to be honest, just to sort of get a feel for it. My treadmill's in my office, there's a wall behind it. I didn't fancy sort of going too hard too soon and banging myself into the wall. So the pace in the first one was quite relaxed, to be fair, which meant then I ramped the pace up then for the next few, and then for the last ones I did a wee bit. So I ended up doing 10 by 2 minutes just because I knew that for me the first one didn't really count. It was more of a tester to see where it was at. So it was 9 or 10 by 2 minutes on the treadmill, 12 degrees elevation with 60-minute rest, and it was a standing rest because I wasn't sort of coming down the hill, which meant the mileage wasn't quite as much, and a bit of a cool down thereafter. That was a good session. Not ideal for a hill session, but adapted to what was suitable for me at that point in time. Sweat was lashing off me still, so I can only imagine what it'd been like if I had been outside, without a fan going at me as well. So that was number 2, which meant then the next day, which was Friday, I was running in a tempo run, because I had a couple of other runs to do. So I tend to tell everyone I coach this, don't do 2 hard sessions back to back. and you're about to hear now that I ended up doing 4 hard sessions back to back. Ill planned, not looked ahead properly, and I paid for it. I really did pay for it at the end. But the tempo session went really well. It was a 1 mile warm up, 4 miles tempo, 1 mile cool down, which was on the plan. I ended up going out just a little bit too hard. Not like me. Went out a wee bit too hard at the start of it, and I looked down and ended up sort of the first half mile was a bit quicker than anticipated. So I knew if I picked up the pace for the second half mile, I could get straight into the tempo without having to do the mile warm up. And you know what? It went really well. I've said this a couple of episodes ago with my tempo. I sort of think that they should be in around 7:45, 7:40s, but they're not. They're sitting around 7:23s previously, and this past week they're actually down to 7:20s. And considering that I'd done this at 5:30 in the afternoon in 27-degree heat, was really, really good for me. So the 4 miles at tempo pace was done. I think it was 7:22, 7:20, 7:22, and then a 7:08 or something along those lines, off the top of my head. The middle one there was a bit slower, and the reason being there was a hill in it. It's as simple as that there. The effort sort of overtook the pace on that there. But overall, the average pace was under 7:20s, and it just felt really good. It felt nice. It felt, even though it was a tempo was uncomfortable, I was comfortably uncomfortable. That is tempo. That's what it should feel like. So starting to feel a lot fitter again within myself, starting to enjoy the running a lot more, starting to enjoy these sessions as well. Until the next day. So the hill session, if it had been outside, it might have been a wee bit harder. Tempo, it was faster than anticipated. It was very warm. So what's the next best thing to do on a Saturday whenever your plan says 4 miles easy? Run up and down a mountain, okay? So I'm going to try and link a video in the cards here, somewhere along this up, down, side, wherever it is, to the Lurig Challenge. I've got a good bit of footage from that run, and I'll do maybe a wee bit of talking with regards to that there in that video as well, if people want to watch it separately. But the Lurig run, it is held just outside Cushendall by Glenn's Runners. This is the first year it's been done since 2019. A good friend of mine, Gordon, had recommended this race to me, and you know what? So much fun. Probably the best race I've done in a long time in terms of just how much fun I had with it. You start off in Cushendall village itself at 12:30. Again, really hot day. Sorry, 1 o'clock, but I was there for 12:30. Yeah, you start off at 1 o'clock, and the village itself fully embraces this run. You can see, it's part of a festival in the village, but everybody seems to be out supporting it. The streets are lined with, residents and spectators. There's about 400 runners at it, it's just fab. So you start off in the middle of Cushendall, and you run, a little bit of the road section, and then all of a sudden you're put up steps, you go onto the stony path, it's all climbing for about 1.9 miles. 1.4 of that there, steady enough climbing, then the last half mile, you're completely uphill. I think it's nearly 1,000, it's about 900 feet of elevation climb in 0.42 miles according to Strava. So people are telling you to start climbing, expect to go on your hands and knees, and you sort of don't really, think they're taking the pee out of you, but yeah, you're on your hands and knees. You're clawing your way up the mountain, jostling for space, but so much fun, laughing and giggling on the way up. Maybe a bit of cursing too, so I do apologise for any cursing in the video that you might watch. But I'm going back to say it was just so much fun. You get to the top, you spin around, the views are absolutely amazing. You get to see the sea, just the glens of Cushendall, or glens of Antrim. Just such an amazing, underrated place. and you know, we all know in Northern Ireland with the causeway and the moorings, etc. But you know, the Glens of Antrim, you know, I've been there now 3 or 4 times this year doing a few different runs. Highly recommend it if you get to it. But the view's spectacular. As you're going up the mountain on your hands and knees, you maybe look over to your left hand side and you see people sliding down the mountain, sliding down on their butts, you know, the elite runners or the faster runners. And I've thought to myself, I'm not doing that there. Yeah, once you get to the top, you realise that's the only way to go down. You just have to embrace it and slide down. Thankfully, there wasn't too many thistles or rocks to hurt myself on. But yeah, just sliding down on my butt, sliding down a mountain, pick yourself up a wee bit, run a bit and slide a bit more. It's so much, you know, twists and turns and different terrains. So with this run, you know, from going on your hands and knees to sliding down on your butt. So real good fun with that there. You back down the stony path, back down the steps, back into the village for a 3.8 mile run. I think my time was something like 49 minutes, which you know, I don't really care about in any shape or form. So on Strava you'll see it. You know, the heart rate was skyrocketed, the elevation was ridiculous, the effort was stupidly high because of the terrain and the elevation. So 4 miles easy? Maybe not so easy at all. So we're on the 3 really bloody tough sessions back to back. We've done hills, we've done tempo, and we've just ran up a mountain and came back down it fairly quickly as well. So the legs really were tired, you know, so cramming so many different hard sessions in towards the end of the week, putting them all back to back, as I said earlier, ill planned, just not the right thing. Sunday morning, toyed with the idea of waking up early to get my long run done. Planned to do 18 miles, and you know what, I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed early. My son has started doing the junior park run every Sunday, and you know, it takes priority for me. You know, he's 8 years of age, and you know, as long as he wants to go, I'll be taking him to that there. So it means that I do either have to get up early or do my run after that there on a Sunday. So after the park run, he had a couple of friends over, and it just meant like I couldn't get out at that time because I was helping looking after the kids and keep them entertained for a while. So as time progressed, the day got longer, and I sort of thought to myself, am I actually going to get this long run done? Am I going to get out at all? And it was 2:30 before I was able to get out the door. So not ideal again for myself. You know, I do prefer to get out quite early for my run. You know, from a fueling point of view, most of my eating's done the day before. So it's a wee bit strange for me running so late in the afternoon, especially for a long run. The run itself, did it go well? On paper, you can look at it and you can sort of see that I'd done 18 miles at 8:29 pace, which on paper looks like a fantastic run. You know, it's bang on where I wanted to be. The reality of that run, maybe not so good, not so comfortable. I drove down to Patrick Cemetery and parked the car there because I knew there's a few loops that I can do, and I wanted to leave water out because I knew I hadn't been hydrating properly all day. So I parked the car out at the gates of the cemetery, or the park if you want to call it that and keep it less more of it, and did, you know, a 7 mile loop. Came in, took on a bit of water. 7 mile loop, bit hilly, bit hillier than I sort of wanted it to be, but you know, you have to run hills, you have to do it. But you know, I looked down and the average pace was 8:20s, you know, just under 8:20s actually. But mentally, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. I felt like stopping at that point. But I took a bit of water on, decided, right, I can just go out here and do a shorter loop, finish up if I need to. But I end up doing the exact same 7 mile loop again. There are a few cut-off points within that loop, and it's sort of one of the loops that I could have come up and finished at 10 miles. Really contemplated that there, but you know, just sort of had to have words with myself just to keep on going. And that's what it is, just kept on going, finished the next sort of 7 miles, and again looked down and was, you know, 8:20 average. You know, felt much tougher than what the stats say. And whether that was just my mind playing tricks on me or the legs just felt really tired and fatigued from the last few runs. But you know what, you know, from a training point of view, 14 miles on an 8:20 pace. It's actually quicker than I've sort of hoped to be at this point in time in the marathon training. So it was good, you know, if you think about it from that there and you reflect on it. You know, what would I say to somebody I coach about that type of run? I would say, you know, that was a really good run, you know, and the fact that mentally that you felt like giving up, I've kept going, you know, shows how strong they are. So those are the types of words that I sort of say, what would I say to somebody else? So I had to self-talk myself. So I took on a little bit more water, maybe not enough at this stage as well because it was quite humid, and went out again. And the initial plan was maybe to do another mile, bring myself up to 15, but I ended up doing sort of a little bit more. So the loop that I did was a 3.5 mile loop this time around, sort of half of it, and sort of every mile that was coming up I just sort of had to keep on digging deep and deep into the reserves. I could watch the average pace dropping off. The 3.5 mile loop was actually hillier than the 7 mile one, and yeah, just every mile I was ready for pausing, stopping the Garmin and stopping and walking back to the car. But there was just a wee sort of thought in my head, you know, just keep on going, get to the next mile, and that's what I did. Got back to the car at 17.5, paused the Garmin, was ready for stopping. The plan said 18. I have managed to do every session in the plan so far, and I just thought, you know, okay, we're 5 weeks into the training block, we just tick that box again. So another couple of loops around Paul Patrick brought me back up to the 18 miles. Average pace, as I said earlier, was 8:29, so it shows how much that last 3 miles, the pace had dropped off quite significantly. So what can I learn from this week? What are my thoughts of this week? Number one, plan a bit better. Get, you know, the runs in early. Make sure that you're not doing hard sessions back to back. That you're doing your easy runs in between it or taking a rest day, and try to get out early on the Sunday. And also remember that you're a stronger runner than you sometimes give yourself credit for. Myself I'm talking to here again. So look guys, hopefully you're getting something from these videos. You know, you're getting an insight into my training, how it works, the mistakes that I'm making when things go well. You know, like last week's video was about how good everything felt. This week's video, you know, I nailed every session. You know, I can sit back on Monday morning and look at it and say, you know, it actually went well. This was a good week. But mentally it just felt tougher. I think there was the heat, the fatigue in the legs. But let's just tick the boxes, chalk it down. The experience is done, and we can just move on to the following week. What does the following week have in plan for me? I do have a 20-mile long run planned, which is very early in the plan, and I'll talk more about that next week, just so that you can sort of see my insight and my thought process behind this here. So guys, look, thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions or queries with regards to your own training, or, you know, nutrition, I'm going to upload a video with regards to that there as well soon. You know, just drop me a message. But, you know, we're getting a lot of positive comments on this here. A lot of people saying how, you know, they're enjoying it. So, you know, as long as you're enjoying it, I'll keep going with it. Guys, have a great week. All the best. Bye-bye.